Hello friends, welcome back to New Toy Tuesday, the weekly series where I get to show you a new toy on Tuesday. This week's new toy is Distress Grit Paste in the Crypt. So I'm going to do a Halloween tag. I'm very excited because Halloween's my favorite. Look at that. Oh yeah. Get the packaging out of the way. I have these thick chipboard tags that I got from Michael's on the clearance rack a few years ago. So we're going to use one of those. We're going to use some mummy cloth. We're going to use either the skeleton or Frank. I haven't decided which yet. One or the other. And possibly some ephemera out of the turn around. The Halloween stuff. So, first things first, I need to coat this with some gesso. And since this is a brown tag and that's a good grungy color, I'm just going to use clear gesso. Clear gesso has a different feel to it than regular gesso. It feels gritty and sandy. But if you're going to work on something that you like the color of as your base, to use the clear is a lot better than using the white, because I think some of this brown's probably going to show through, and I'm going to ink on it and stuff. So gesso is always a good, important start because it helps your surface stand up to the things you're going to put on it, for one, and it just helps your things that you're going to put on it kind of adhere to your surface a little better. Now, I know this looks kind of white, but when it dries, it'll be completely clear. And this will dry pretty quick since this is raw chipboard. A lot of it's going to soak right in. I'm planning to create a banner with Halloween tags. I'm going to do 3 of these this size and get some fabric to do a little knotted banner with. There we go. Okay, we're just going to let that dry. It'll probably take about 15-20 minutes because it's a thin coat on raw chipboard. You can always speed it up with your heat gun. I'll be back. Alrighty, so we're dry. We're going to start working on this background. I'm going to use some Dylusions black ink spray, some mica stain, let's see, Empty Tomb and Crooked Broomstick from last year. Actually, Empty Tomb isn't even opened yet. We're going to spray this on. Alright, let's get this shook up. Remember, ring your bell. Don't do it this way. Ring your bell. Whoops. Alright, let's try this out. Oh yeah. Get this kind of splotchy. Ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Now let's add a little broomstick in here, and then we're going to hit it with the heat gun. Ring your bell. I always want to sing that song from the 70s. Ring my bell. I won't sing it now because it will scare you. Oh, yes. Okay. That is lovely. I'm going to go dry this, and then I'll be back to put some grit paste on the background through a stencil. Oh my goodness, look at that. That is stunning. And if I hadn't used the gesso on there, it wouldn't have turned out as nicely. All right, got my palette knife, got my press and seal for inside once I open it. Let's get this open. I'm going to use this stencil that came from stamp set from New Toy Tuesday a couple weeks ago. This is from one of the Joann's exclusive sets. Look at that. Oh. Let's put some of this over this Harlequin background. And my background isn't completely dry, so it's picking up some of the color. I'm not doing all of this. I'm just going to make it a little random. Make it a little chunky there. Now, I'm not going to put this back in the jar because now it's contaminated with color, but so I'm just going to wipe it off with a paper towel. Let's pull this off of here. Yes, that's cool. Now you want to make sure you wash this stuff off right away because it will dry on there like a rock. Now we just gotta wait for that to dry, and then I'm gonna move up a little bit up here. Okay, grit paste is not completely dry, but it is dry enough for my impatient self to move on. So I'm gonna line this up so that I can move up a little bit. That should be good. There we go. Add a little more. I'm not really working hard to smooth it out either. I don't know if you noticed that in the first round, but it can be a little chunky and crazy. That makes it better anyway. And we'll lift, and that's what we have for our next part. And then we'll let this dry a little bit again and come back and do round 3. Okay, this is dry enough to continue, so let's add a little more up here at the top. Just up here. We're going to do just a little further up here. All right, so we are now all the way up. And as you can see, my background had gotten dry, so this stuff didn't color, but that's okay. I'm going to color it up. Okay, now, while this is hanging out to dry, I want to hit it with some sprays again. crooked broomstick in here. Blot some of that black up because that was a lot. I'm going to let this dry, and while this dries, I'm going to do some die cutting. So let's move this. I've decided I'm going to use the Count and his Batty Bats. And I think how I'm going to arrange this on the tag. I'm going to put this, I'm not sure if it's going to go this way or this way, with some dyed mummy cloth and some, maybe a little bling. This guy, I have this little tag. We're gonna have an uninvited guest, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna leave it straight or cut it up. But we need to cut Frank and the Bats. I'm very excited. I have some scraps of black glitter to use for the bats. Now for the Count, trying to decide, kind of like the idea of purple. And I can add a little purple to the background. I do have Hocus Pocus from last year that I haven't opened yet. So we could add a little purple in the background and then cut the Count out of the purple. Get that all mixed up. Let's add a little bit of this Hocus Pocus. So there's a reason for the Count to be purple. All right, let's set that aside to dry. Get our little bats. Let's see if I can get 2 out of this piece. I think I can. And we need a piece for the Count. And I am going to cut him twice out of black cardstock and layer him up so that he's nice and chunky on this tag. Let's run these through. Here we have 3 of the Count and we have 4 little bats. The bats I'm not going to layer, but I am going to layer the Count because I want him to be super sturdy. So I got my Craft Bond Extra Strength glue stick here. We're going to cover this black one in glue. Hand. Sorry if my head's in the way. I imagine it probably is. And if I can just get his head lined up, the rest of it will follow. There we go. Pinched a little bit. And we'll get the glitter layer on. Again, sorry for my head. Get the Count. All right, give that a press. All of our die cuts are ready. So while that background continues to dry, I thought we could dye some flowers. So this larger one, I'm gonna spray with Dylusions Black. Oh, I didn't use Dylusions, I used Empty Tomb. Oops. Meant to use Dylusions, because that's a nice dark, dark black. And then I was gonna do Empty Tomb over it. There we go. Nice and shimmery. I'll do a couple of these roses. I don't know why, but black roses always make me think of the Haunted Mansion at Disney. All right, these are all soaked. Then we'll do some Hocus Pocus. Oh, ooh. And, oh wow. Those are beautiful. Those purple ones are fantastic. Okay, we're gonna set these aside to dry as well. And while everything's drying, I'm gonna clean up a little bit because, whew, I have a mess going here. Okay, while we're waiting on things to dry, I did dig through the jar that I keep the Tim Holtz metal goodies in. Found some fun things. So the count is gonna go about here, down towards the bottom. And I have the frame. I think it's gonna go this way. I think we should grunge this up a little bit. Yes. And some distress inks, archival distress inks. And we'll start with Little Hickory Smoke. Just a teeny tiny blending brush. I'm using archival because it's permanent. I don't have to worry about it rubbing off or anything. So. Do the same to this. Just kind of grunge these up a little bit. And we'll do a little vintage photo. Yeah, I'm liking this better already. They were a little too clean and bright, I think, for this. Espresso. So start with the lightest, working our way to the darkest. Which will be I like that better. All of our die cuts are inked. We've got some little metal pieces, and we're really just waiting on things to dry. Okay, so everything was dry enough to move on. I took some mummy cloth, cut some off, and I sprayed it with the dilutions, with Tombstone mica, and with Hocus Pocus mica. That's the purple. Add a little more of that. Now I'm just gonna go dry this with the heat gun. Okay, so our mummy cloth is dry. My fingers are blackened. Look at that. That looks so cool. So I brought over some E600 glue. Now you could use whatever heavy duty glue you prefer, probably even a glue gun. And I brought some clamps to hold things down while they dry. Now let's start adding things. So I know the count, he's gonna go here. So this frame, I wanna put here. So I'm gonna glue the frame down first. Use some E600 and then clamp it down for a few minutes. Off my edges a little. And then let me check my placement before I clamp it down. Count. Yes. Okay. All right, we're gonna clamp it. Just for a few minutes to make sure it really grabbed well. I wish I had something that would reach that side. Now we're going to take this mummy cloth and we're going to put some inside of the frame. This poking out. Unlucky number 13. And that's the mummy cloth. Arrange it however you want. I'm going to have some dripping out. Now we have the flowers that got dyed. We're going to add those. These purple ones are just stunning. My gold ones actually came apart, but I think that's okay because I can just use the smaller piece of it in there. There, and that's all just going to sit there and dry. Now we're going to add the count, and I'm even going to E600 him down because this background is so heavily textured and sprayed. I want to make sure he's not going to pop off next year. Make sure I get some on his hand. There we go. Clamp the count wherever we can. Like I said, just enough to get him, get that glue to grab. Let's add his little bat friends. We'll add one here. On the frame there. And how about there? And we'll add a third one up here. And then I'm going to add this fourth one over here by the count. There we go. I'll put a flower down here. I pulled out one of the eyeballs from last year. I'm going to glue it on this little ticket. I'm just going to put it right on this ticket and let that sit for a minute before I glue it down. I think I'm going to use one of these little paper clips on the 13 card just for a little metal. Probably should have done that before I stuck it down, but you know, I didn't think of it. Now, an uninvited guest. I think I want to cut it. Okay, I want to take these words and just sand them, rough them up a little more. Oh yeah, that's the look I'm going for. There we go. There's Anne. Uninvited guest. Now, how should this go on? Should I do it down here? No, you know what? I need to cut this one apart too. Let's sand this. I think I like that better. So what if we did it this way? go up here or down here, because I do have a lot going on right here. I think I'm going to put it down here towards the bottom. So let's get our heavy duty glue. Put this down. Uninvited guest. No, we're not talking about in-laws. That's it there. And then our eyeball. Thought I would tuck it in there, but I don't think I like that. So maybe I'll put it in the clip. And then we'll glue it a little. Yes. It's gonna need a little glue. Okay, and I'm gonna let this sit overnight and come back to it tomorrow and see if there's anything else that we should add. And do something up there in the top. Oh, yeah, I'm really happy with that so far. Okay, see you tomorrow. Okay, this tag is done. All I did was put a little of the dyed mummy cloth in there because I'm not sure how I'm going to attach it to the banner when I have it completed. So this is just looped through so I can take it off easily if I decide to do something else. But the new toy for this week was the Distress Grip Paste in the Crypt color, which I realize, you know, you can't really see the color because I colored it, but it just makes a really nice, you know, background. Used it through a stencil, kind of random. And so, yeah, this is my first Halloween tag. Be one of 3. I have 2 more ready to go. One of 3 for a little banner I'm making this year. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And this tag took, you know, working on it over 2 days because there's a lot of drying time in between and stuff. And I used the heat gun to speed up a little bit, but not to dry things completely because I didn't want to warp the tag. The tag actually stayed pretty flat. I was pretty impressed. It held up well. I'll probably coat the back of these either with just black distress paint or with some scrapbook paper. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you liked this project. It was a lot of fun. Most of the black is off of my fingers. Get a little bit of marks still, but not a whole lot. Have a lovely day. Remember, be excellent to each other and go make something. Bye-bye.